All right, what's up, Titan fans? Welcome to another week of Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Jason Mackey, and alongside Coach Hand, we're going to talk about the Bethany game from last Saturday. The Titans routed the Bison 34-13. We'll preview the upcoming week's game as the Titans take on Teal on Saturday for a 1:30 kickoff. Steve Brink's got a pack report, and it's the offensive line show. I sat down with the big boys yesterday and interviewed them, so you'll see that player interview a little bit later in the show. But right now, let's take a look at the first half highlights from Bethany. We pick it up here on Bethany's first possession. Brian Weinberg looks over the middle to T.J. Parker, finds it for 28 yards up to the Westminster 47. That was on a 3rd and 13, and Bethany sustains the drive. And right here, Brett Clow from 27 yards out. The Bethany Bison on the scoreboard first. They're on top 7-0, but the Titans get the football back, and they would answer. The ground game looked excellent early on, as you can see right here with the Sean Buggy run. Right-hand side for 20 yards to the Bethany 40-yard line, and it would set up a J.R. Barley to Brett Ziegler scoring strike of 17 yards, and the Titans answer the Bison. Score is tied at 7 when Bethany goes back on offense, and watch the defensive line penetration here. Brian Weinberg back to pass, but he'll be sacked for a loss of 2 yards by Matt Handhold and Ryan Schmore. Football pops out there. Titans almost get it back, but Bethany would punt on the drive. Titans get it back, and they go right back with the ground game. Sean Buggy for 34 yards down to the Westminster 10-yard line right through the middle. And as I said, it looked impressive early on. Buggy would cap off the drive with a 2-yard touchdown run. Titans on top 14-7. Defensive line, more penetration. Brian Weinberg right there sacked for a loss of 2 yards again, and the Titans get the football back. Back to the running game. Sean Buggy for 16 yards to the 49-yard line. And then mix it up a little bit with the pass. J.R. Barley looks to throw to Josh Kutzner, but it goes right through his hands. Jake Buzzard picks it up. Still good for a Titan first down. Later in the drive, though, J.R. Barley back to pass on a 2nd and 8, but he's sacked for a loss of 8. Going to create a long field goal situation for Chris Castillo from 47 yards out. If he makes it, it's a school record. He does. Put it in the books. Castillo from 47. Titans on top 17-7. Bethany back on offense now. Brian Weinberg heaves up a prayer, and Reggie Williams picks it off, and a nice return here by Reggie. He's going to pick out who he wants blocked, and he gets a couple of those blocks. And the Titans back on offense. They'll be clicking on all cylinders. J.R. Barley finds Brett Ziegler for 10 yards. It was actually more, but negated by a penalty. The Titans still get 10 yards. Nice yards after the catch there for Ziegler. And Barley back to pass will find his running back now. Watch Sean Buggy, the top of your screen, number 5. He'll go up and get it. And that one good for 32 yards to the Bethany 25-yard line, setting up this yet another Chris Castillo field goal, this one from 40 yards out. And, of course, it's up, and it's good. And the Titans are on top 20-7. Bethany would turn it over on their next possession, and Titans with the football back now on a 1st and 10. J.R. Barley doesn't see anything. He's going to take off, do it himself, 15 yards down to the Bethany 14-yard line, but the Titans would not score before the end of the half as Barley is picked off here by Chris Brady at the Bethany 16-yard line. But the score at the end of the first half, Titans on top 20-7. All right, welcome back to Coach's Corner. The Titans on top 20-7. And, Coach, oftentimes you hear about teams that travel well. You know, they put fans in the seats and they also play well on the road. The Titans seem like one of those teams so far.
Yeah, definitely. We do not mind traveling at all. I mean, we got to show up to play wherever we are, and it's definitely good to see a nice following.
No, last week we talked about the running game. I probably harped on it a little bit too much, but this week certainly improved. Sean Buggy, 250 all-purpose yards, 216 on the ground. Had to be happy with how the running game improved.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, it's total team effort. There's no doubt about it. The running backs are continuing to run hard. The fullbacks are getting better each and every week, and the offensive line and tight ends and receivers blocking downfield certainly help out on the long runs.
Now, you mentioned the receivers. I want to talk about a play with those guys. The wide receiver screen. Seems like you guys have increased the use of this play over the past couple weeks. Talk about the development of this and what's involved in this play.
Well, actually, it's something we've worked on since camp. Something we emphasized is our screen game, and it hasn't totally clicked even completely yet, in my opinion. But the screen game can be quite dangerous, and basically you have to be able to protect the passer for a split second, and then you're going to invite the rush, and you get your offensive lineman downfield, and you throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage, which is totally illegal play. Mm-hmm. And it's a great play if you get the best of both worlds.
Now, if we switch over and talk about defense a little bit, Greg Pfeiffer, linebacker, a guy that we really didn't talk about a lot early on in the past weeks, but really, he's stepped up his game a lot this year.
Yeah, he has. He's a good, solid linebacker for us. Definitely can play very physical when he wants to play physical, and has some wheels. He's doing a nice job. I mean, he definitely is a good quality player for us.
All right, switching back over to offensive line. It's their show this week. We'll talk about them a little bit. But last week, Randy Sylvester stepped in at left tackle, and now Tom Heath at left tackle. Seems like you guys have gone from an injury-plagued offensive line to really a unit with a lot of depth.
Well, I don't know how much depth. I mean, there's 6, 7, 8 guys that definitely are at the top of the heap, and and that's a good number to work with. Of course, you'd like to have it, a solid 10 or 12, but the guys they're doing a nice job, and most of them can play multiple positions.
Now we saw Castillo's field goal, 47-yarder, breaking his own record. And what was the dialogue like on the sideline before? Was he begging you for a chance to get that, or did you know all the way you had confidence in him?
No, actually, I was quite upset that JR didn't throw the ball out of bounds, and we had to kick that long of a field goal. But at that point in time, I mean, you got to get points. Your opportunity to get points was there, and he took advantage of it. But no, Chris is not that type of player. I know he's a competitor, and I know he'll go out and do his best, and he did. And actually, it was a great play for us. He
also kicked a 40-yarder in the game. But we also talked about a couple weeks ago team bonding type stuff. You guys went to go see the longest yard, and on Friday you guys went to Gallows, I believe, the Italian restaurant on 18. But, this is something that you feel pretty strongly about, this team unity type stuff.
Well, definitely. That's something that if you are hanging out together and get to know one another and trust one another in a social setting, it definitely can click a little bit better on the football field. And the Gallows thing was basically because of circumstances, because the dining halls were closed over break, and we wanted to give them something a little bit different. And actually, Mr. Gallo he's a great guy. He gave us a great opportunity to go down and eat at his place at a reasonable price.
All righty, well, the Titans are on top 20-7. Let's take a look now at the second half highlights. We pick it up with Bethany's first possession of the second half. On a 2nd and 2, Joe Ford dropped for a loss of 3 yards on the play. Credit that tackle to Greg Piper. Titans back on offense. Now they go back to the passing game. Barley over the middle to Buzzard, 17 yards. And then on the next play, JR would find Jake Buzzard again, this time for 14 yards and another Titan first down. This was the hookup. Buzzard caught 5 balls on the day. Sean Buggy on the next play on the draw. 17 yards down to the Bethany 11-yard line, setting up this. Sean Buggy's going to throw it back to Barley, and the Titans on top 27-7 at this point. Bethany goes back on offense. Brent Owens in at quarterback, and yeah, bud, you better put your mouthpiece in because the Titans are coming at you. Andrew Robinson, watch him, number 40. The defensive end sacks Owens for a loss of 5 down to the Bethany 24-yard line. And 2 plays later, Robinson back at it again. Owens sacks for a loss of 10 this time to the Bethany 30-yard line. They would have to punt after a 4th and 29 situation, but they would get some offense going. Pinned back in their own end, Brent Owens will find his tight end, Mike Elias. Watch number 32, releases, and he finds Elias for 42 yards. A nice one-handed grab there, but Bethany would get no points on the drive. Bethany gets the football back later in the 4th quarter, and Owens will be picked off by Reggie Williams. Bottom right of your screen, Reggie jumps in front of that one, and they get the football back. The Titans, of course, back to the running game, back to Sean Buggy. And check this run out, breaking 6 tackles. Buggy, 54 yards into the end zone, sealing the victory for the Titans. They end up winning it 34-13. All right, welcome back to Coach's Corner. A big Titan win, 34-13. And, Coach, we saw in that last highlight Sean Buggy breaking a big one, and a big reason because of that is the offensive line. How much have these guys improved from week 1 against Ohio Northern to how they played against Bethany?
Oh, they're improving each and every week, and that was certainly a great effort by Sean. And and he broke some tackles, as it said on the highlights, and he's a good quality running back that is getting better himself every week.
Something that's been getting better too, the passing game, possibly J.R. Barley's finest game as a Titan.
It was a good game. There's no doubt about it. And there's still some things that he needs to work on, and he's getting better, and he's definitely making an effort to get better at the things he needs to get better at.
Was throwing the ball out of bounds one of those things that you mentioned improving?
Yeah. It's definitely on third down, I mean, you don't want to take a sack. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's just lost field position. The kicking game is so important, but it's not a bad thing to punt the ball. I mean, that's not a bad thing. When you're playing good, solid defense, it's not bad. But throwing the ball out of bounds, throwing an interception, some things like that we're working on, and it is a team effort. The sack that you actually saw earlier, we should have picked up.
That was a blitz, I believe, on the outside. Should have picked up.
Definitely.
JR also went down in the second half. Knee injury. What's his status, and what was the status of the injury?
He's just he has a couple dings, but he'll be fine. He's a tough kid too.
Now, we talk about Bethany's quarterbacks actually with Owens and Weinberg. Seems like they weren't able to get comfortable in the pocket at all. Is this different blitz schemes or just the defensive line getting a ton of pressure?
The defensive line did their best job of the year as far as getting pressure, and we wanted to continue to emphasize getting a few more fresh legs on the field, and we did do that, and I think that helped out. And we do get after people blitz-wise, although we didn't blitz all that much against Bethany.
Didn't have to. It seems like the front four were getting so much pressure. But some of the guys stepping up, the younger guys, Dan Baradelli, Neil Falco, Andrew Robinson, guys on the defensive line and linebackers, have to be impressed with how these guys are earning some playing time.
Oh, definitely. The Dan Baradelli he's come a long way since training camp, and Andrew Robinson doing a great job. Neil Falco. I mean, you add those three to the starting four defensive linemen, and they can certainly add some depth.
You guys are killing me up in the booth with the trick plays, but 2 weeks ago doing the throwback, and then I was talking to Jake Buzzer at the beginning of the week. He mentioned the throwback to Barley. Do you guys have any crazy plays putting in this week against Teal?
No, but we'll have to see. I mean, there's the ones that we do well, we're going to continue to rep out and continue to do those. I mean, I think you have to keep defenses honest.
All right, well, that does it for our interview portion. We're going to take a short break, be back with Steve Brink's Pack Report here on Coach's Corner.
Open your window, say something.
Oh, he's really gonna down.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Thank you. Honey, finish up. Come on, we gotta go.
Ew.
What's wrong?
Something's on my glass.
See. Oh, it's lipstick. Excuse me, ma'am. Could we just have a new glass, please? This one's dirty. Thank you.
Mom.
Honey, I don't want you to get sick. I don't know what's on that glass.
Oh, have me one too.
Hey, you want a soap to be in?
Yeah.
There you go. There's some honey right here, too.
Picture yourself at Westminster College. Westminster offers an educational experience that is second to none. We've been exceeding students' expectations for 150 years. Westminster combines the prestige of a national liberal arts college with the personal attention you deserve. Westminster is a national leader in graduation rate performance and is the most affordable national liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. Visit Westminster's beautiful 300-acre campus to experience an ideal learning environment. Succeed at Westminster College.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner, everyone. I'm Steve Brink, and I'm here to bring you the Week 7 edition of the Pack Report. Let's get things started by taking a look at the overall standings. Teal is still the only unbeaten team in the pack at 6-0. W&J is in second at 6-1. Thomas More in third at 4-2, followed by Waynesburg and Westminster at 3-3 each, and Grove City is in sixth at 2-5, and last but not least, Bethany at 1-6. And the overall standings are nice, but what really matters are the conference standings. And if we take a look at this week's standings, you'll see that we have a first-place tie between Teal and Thomas More at 4-0. W&J is in third at 2-1. Waynesburg and Westminster tied for fourth at 1-2, followed by Grove City and finally Bethany. Now, taking a look at last week's matchups, we got to start with another overtime thriller, actually double overtime to be exact. Teal survived a huge scare last Saturday as the Tomcats fell behind 21-0 early, but rallied and eventually pulled out a 35-28 double overtime victory over Waynesburg. Teal quarterback Darryl Satterfield had a monster day as he set a new career high for passing yards in the game with 336. While also adding 3 touchdowns. Wide receiver Brandon Chambers had a huge day too, catching 11 balls for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. Waynesburg's 14-game home winning streak is now over. Senior running back Sean Buggy rode Westminster to their first conference win of the 2005 season. Buggy had a career-high 216 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. Kicker Chris Castillo set a new school record with his 47-yard field goal in the second quarter, and senior defensive back Reggie Williams added his first 2 INTs of the year. And the final pack matchup from last week had its share of excitement as well. The 2-6 Grove City Wolverines were tied with W&J 14-14 at the half, but apparently the luck ran out after that as W&J put up 23 unanswered points in the second half to seal the victory. Quarterback Chris Edwards had a big day as he completed a school record 36 passes for 335 yards and 2 scores. Grove City linebacker Garrett Shoby posted a team-high 11 tackles in the loss. And finally, Thomas More dropped their second game of the season as the Saints gave up 23 second-half points as well to visiting Frostburg State. Thomas More is now 4-2 on the year, and both losses have come outside of the PAC conference. Running back Tyran Thompson rushed for 95 yards in the loss, while linebacker Mark Carlisle posted 18 tackles. It's now time to acknowledge the PAC offensive and defensive players of the week, and we'll start with the offense. Westminster running back Sean Buggy is the first Titan to receive the weekly award. The senior from Homer City, PA, rushed 27 times for a career-high 216 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, he also threw a touchdown, too, connecting with quarterback J.R. Barley for an 18-yard score. Now flipping sides to the defense, this week's honor goes to Teal free safety Darius Thompson. The junior from West Oak Academy in Florida had 9 tackles, 1 for a loss, while also adding an interception and a forced fumble. Now here on the PAC Report, we like to send out some love to 5 other top performers around the conference, and here's this week's edition of the Fantastic 5. Coming in at number 5, we have Westminster cornerback Reggie Williams. Williams had 4 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a sack in the Titans' win at Bethany on Saturday. Waynesburg running back Ryan Abels comes in at number 4. Abels rushed 25 times for 123 yards and 1 touchdown. Number 3, we have Teal quarterback Daryl Satterfield. Satterfield was 24 of 44 for 336 yards and 3 scores. W&J quarterback Chris Edwards comes in at number 2. Edwards completed a school record 36 passes for 335 yards with 2 touchdowns. Finally, at number 1, Teal wide receiver Brandon Chambers. Chambers caught 11 passes for 177 yards and 2 scores. All right, now we're going to take a look at what's happening around the conference this week. And we've got another full day as all 7 PAC schools are in action this weekend. First, though, Teal travels down the road to Westminster for the 64th meeting between the 2 schools. The Tomcats blanked the Titans 28-0 last year behind 157 yards and 3 first-half touchdowns from Stephen Minton. Teal's 6-0 start this year is their best since 1969. And it's senior day up at Grove City as the Wolverines host PAC rival Waynesburg. This game will feature the top 2 rushing defenses in the conference. Yellow Jackets are giving up just 2.4 yards per carry, while the Wolverines are allowing just 2.6. Last year's meeting, Waynesburg scored 7 touchdowns on their first 8 possessions en route to a 51-14 win. Thomas More is the only PAC school not playing a conference game this weekend. Instead, they will travel to Anderson College out in Indiana. The Saints have played Anderson 4 times and have never lost. Last year, they eked out a 45-38 overtime victory back in Kentucky. And the final game this weekend features Washington and Jefferson hosting Bethany for a night game on Senior Day. Bethany hasn't beaten W&J since 1982 or just 22 consecutive times. W&J raced out to a 35-0 first quarter lead last year on their way to a 56-0 drubbing of the Bison. Well, now it's time to show everyone the updated standings in the NFL Pick'em Challenge. Coach went 3-3 last week to jump ahead of Jason by another game. And after my 1-5 week last Sunday, I'm seriously just considering letting my 15-year-old sister pick the games for me from here on out. Now, if we take a look at this week's games, as you can see, there is no Jacksonville on the schedule because they are on bye this week. So now Jason actually has a shot at picking all 6 games correctly this Sunday. That does it for this week's edition of the PAC Report. Now we're going to kick it over to Jason with his interview with the offensive lineman.
An offensive line, a group that didn't get recognized last year on Coach's Corner, but this year we're going to recognize them. The 5 guys standing on the other side of me, certainly a big part of the Titan team this year. And I'll start off with Justin Decker here. Who is most likely to get a date on the offensive line?
I would have to say BA is most likely to get a date.
All right, I'll give Lambie a chance to answer. Who's the most likely to get a date?
I would say myself as well. I'm a pretty attractive guy. But I'll throw Heath. Heath might also get a date. He's a good-looking dude.
All right, there was a little bit of controversy before we started taping with Brian Borkovich. Who's most likely to get a date?
I think I'm going to get the date out of everyone here. I got the most to offer out of everyone here, so I'll go with me.
All right, I'm going to walk on over and talk to Tom Heath. Tom, who's likely not to get a date?
I'm sorry, Nick. You are it.
All right, we'll give Mr. Fisher a chance to get back at him. Who's likely not to get a date, Nick?
I would have to go with Bork. Yeah, just Bork.
All right, oftentimes offensive linemen, they don't get a lot of credit, and sometimes it's a good job being an offensive lineman, but what is the best and worst thing about being an offensive lineman? Justin?
The best thing would have to be, you really don't care what you look like. You can get big. And they like it. They like you better big. And then the worst thing is if you're a center, your butt gets played with by the quarterback. That's probably the worst thing.
We'll go to the center right now.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy the whole butt thing, but, you know, it's part of the job. I'll take it. And the best thing about being a lineman, you can be a little dirty in there, and they don't catch you.
All right, Brian, best and worst thing about being a lineman?
I'm going to say the best thing is, I mean, no matter what the running back does, you know that you had a lot to do with it. I mean, you feel good about yourself, even though you don't get a lot of recognition. That's the only bad thing. It's not a lot of recognition.
Mr. Heath, best and worst thing about being an offensive lineman?
Go on with what Bork said. I agree that that's probably one of the best things, is knowing that we absolutely had an integral part of big plays and wins and losses and things like that. But that's also the bad thing is, you know, when we win, we don't always get all the recognition, but when we lose, it's always our fault.
All right, last but not least, Nick Fisher, best and worst thing about being a lineman?
I'm going to have to agree with Heath on it, be original, obviously. Best thing would just be that, you know, sort of what Decker said, we get to eat whatever we want, and obviously I like that. So, and the worst thing would just be no recognition, I mean, or very little at least.
All right, well, hopefully the quarterback and running back recognize you guys, and J.R. Barley and Sean Buggy, have they done anything for you guys special this season so far, Justin?
Well, JR's grandma made us some food once. No, Buggy said he has brownies on the way, but I haven't seen them yet.
Bork, I heard he burned those brownies.
Yeah, Buggy, on his first attempt on the brownies, wasn't too successful. Stayed in the oven just a little bit too long.
BA, anything else going on? Anybody do anything special for you?
JR's grandma, she hooked us up. That food was pretty good, but I'm still waiting on those brownies from Buggy, too.
All right, Heath, anybody, what would you like to see done for you guys?
Really nothing. It's gratifying to, I mean, as long as we win, that's all that really matters.
Fisher, anything you want to see done?
Oh yeah, they definitely have to feed us something. Buggy and Barley got to bring some food to the table here, you know.
All right, a lot of times you hear about offensive linemen playing dirty. Now on the Titan offensive line, who is the dirtiest player?
It's okay. I myself, I would have to say, I guess.
We set this up beforehand. Everyone named Decker the dirtiest player. So, Lambie, any or
no, without a doubt, Justin Decker.
Bork?
No, not even close.
Films are always a treat. You never know what he's going to do next. Knee drops, you name it, it's been done.
I don't even have to ask, but Fisher.
Going with that.
Justin Decker, the dirtiest player on the Titan offensive line. Well, thank you guys very much. Great interview, but going to take it back upstairs to Coach's Corner on the Westminster Cable Network.
There's a better way to have fun with history. Visit americaslibrary.gov. Log on, play around, learn something.
The Lawrence County Humane Society believes in the safety of spaying and neutering your animals. Spaying and neutering can have many long-term benefits.
We at the Lawrence County Humane Society believe that all animals should be spayed or neutered. Many reasons why, but the biggest reason is that they will be a happier, healthier pet. Also, it alleviates the overpopulation problem.
Getting your animals spayed and neutered is one huge step in making sure that more animals are healthy and find loving homes.
I'm the best thing you ever had. Only thing I'm guilty of is giving you too much love, making you crazy, making you rat, making me fall, making me suspect. Seem to think I'm playing her game. Don't you know you never heard? This is me.
There's a better way to have fun with history. Visit americaslibrary.gov. Log on, play around, learn something.
All right, welcome back to Coach's Corner. Hope you enjoyed the offensive line interview, but we are here right now to talk about the Teal Tomcats, Titans, and Teal on Saturday at 1:30. And, Coach, anytime you look at this Teal team, you really got to start with the running back position. Steve Minton, a local kid from Seneca Valley, pretty much the strength of this team.
Yes, definitely. He is. He's a good football player, but he's not the only good football player on that team. But he's made some big plays when he's had to.
Well, last week against Waynesburg, they held him to 88 yards, and you saw film of this game. What do you got to do to stop Minton?
Well, it starts with the defensive line. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And your linebackers really have to make sure that they're getting shots on him. I mean, and he's not he's not going to be brought down by one person. He's a person that we have to gang tackle, and we have to limit his creases, and that's by good defensive line and linebacker play, and then the secondary fitting into that scheme.
Now, in talking to some of the players this week, they told me the Teal is a little bit undersized, but they're quick. They like to hit. How do you feel the Titans match up against Teal?
Oh, I think there's going to be two physical football teams on the field, and we have to play our physical style of football, and it's going to be one of those things. I can picture this game being a one-play game if we really put our mind to it, and the guys have had that attitude all week that we're going to win the game, and that's the attitude that we want, and we have to have the mental toughness to play physical the whole game.
Now, you say a one-play game. What do you mean specifically about a one-play game?
No, a one-play game is there's going to be a time when we're going to have to make a play and break away offensively, or we're going to have to create a turnover. It's going to be in a crucial situation that's really going to swing the momentum back on our side, and that's one of the things. Any football game, I call it a series of momentum shifts. As the pendulum swings, when it's on our side, we have to make that play to keep it on our side, and if it's not on our side, we've got to make that play to get it back on our side.
Now, you talked about styles of play, and if we can reference W&J for a little bit, more of a high-powered offense. They're going to throw the ball more than Teal, although Teal's passing game was impressive last week. How do you feel the Titans' style of play matches up with the Tomcats' style of play?
Oh, I'll take our matchup any day of the week, and that's why it's going to be a good physical football game, and it's going to be a game where the big play is going to definitely come in going to be a factor. And that's both teams are going to make a commitment to run the ball, and then the pass game is probably going to be the difference.
Well, you mentioned the pass game being the difference. Daryl Satterfield, the quarterback, he took over last year, kind of had a breakout season. How much have you guys prepared for him in anticipation of seeing him a quarterback?
Oh, he's good. He's a good quality quarterback. He has gotten better and better each and every year, and this is second senior year, which I still have yet to figure out how, but I don't know what had happened. I think he might have transferred in or something like that. But he was listed as a senior last year, and now he's a senior again. But he's gotten better every year, and last year was his breakout year, and then this year he really seems composed in the pocket.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you very much. That does it for this week's edition of Coach's Corner. The Titans and the Tomcats on Saturday. That kickoff is at 1:30 on the Westminster Cable Network. But thanks for watching Coach's Corner. For Coach Hand, I'm Jason Mackey. Good night.